Okay, so like imagine this. You're about to go into a meeting and you've got this potential investor, someone who's really into AI, but you're coming from the Bitcoin world,
Oh, yeah.
right? And you really need to be able to talk their language, understand how these two worlds are starting to, like collide a little bit and what that could mean for the future.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what we're doing today, diving deep into this article from The Block. It really caught my eye.
Yeah, it's a fascinating story for sure.
Yeah.
And it, really highlights a trend that we're seeing more and more of these days. Bitcoin mining companies, they're stepping into the world of AI.
And this article really zeroes in on Cipher Mining, which is like the 10th largest publicly traded Bitcoin miner out there.
Right.
And they just locked down a $50 million investment from SoftBank. Now, if that name sounds familiar, it's because they're a major player in the tech world. They've got their hands at everything from AI to cloud computing.
And that's where it gets really interesting, right?
Uh,
Because this isn't just some random tech company kind of dipping their toes into the Bitcoin pool. We're talking about SoftBank, the company that's backing President Trump's Stargate project,
oh, wow.
this massive AI infrastructure initiative. And the budget for this thing will blow your mind. We're talking $500 billion.
500 billion with a B.
Billion with a B.
So we've got Cipher Mining, focused on Bitcoin, gets this big investment from SoftBank, a key player in this huge AI project. I mean, it can't be just a coincidence, can it?
Exactly. It's not just, some random donation or anything. SoftBank's buying a pretty sizable chunk of Cipher Mining. They're showing that they're serious about this partnership. And to add to that, the deal also gives them a 1-month exclusivity agreement for Cipher's massive 300-megawatt Barber Lake site in Texas. This site's prime real estate for development. It's already got a power agreement in place and a substation all ready to go.
Okay, so this exclusivity clause, it kind of makes me wonder, is SoftBank playing the long game here? Could they be setting themselves up to maybe take over Cipher completely?
It's definitely a possibility. They've got a history of making these strategic acquisitions. And Cipher's assets, especially that Barber Lake site, are looking really attractive right now.
So it sounds like it's not just about the money, it's about the strategic assets that Cipher brings to the table.
Right.
But how does all of this actually connect back to AI?
Well, in the press release, they state that the investment will support Cipher's expansion into high-performance computing, or HPC as it's called, and AI data center infrastructure. So think of those giant server farms that power everything from AI applications to cloud services. That's what we're talking about.
So Cipher is using this investment to basically move into the AI space.
Right.
But is this just a one-off, or are we seeing a larger trend here?
That's a great question, and you're hitting on something really important here. Cipher's move is part of a much bigger story. We're seeing a growing number of Bitcoin mining companies diversifying their operations by hosting these AI data centers.
This is where it gets really interesting for me. Break it down for us. Why are these miners making this move?
Well, it comes down to two things, survival and opportunity. First, it helps them ride out the volatility of the Bitcoin market.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you know better than anyone how Bitcoin's price can swing wildly up and down.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So by adding AI to their portfolio, these miners are creating a more stable business. They're hedging their bets, so to speak.
That makes a lot of sense. It's not about abandoning Bitcoin. It's about creating a more resilient business model.
Exactly. And second, they're tapping into this exploding demand for AI. I mean, everyone wants a piece of the AI pie right now, from tech giants to research labs, and they all need massive computing power to make it happen.
Okay, so this all sounds really promising, but isn't it also kind of a risky bet? What if this demand for AI, what if it doesn't actually live up to all the hype?
It's a valid concern, for sure. But the early signs are really encouraging. Last year, the shares of these AI diversified miners actually outperformed those who stuck solely to Bitcoin mining. It seems like the market is actually rewarding this forward-thinking approach.
So there's evidence that this strategy can actually pay off.
Yeah.
But there was that recent market shakeup, remember, that was fueled by DeepSeek, which caused AI-related stocks to take a bit of a hit. Does that change things?
Yeah, there was some turbulence, and even Cipher's stock took a hit.
Right.
But it's important to remember that this SoftBank deal, this was already in the works before the DeepSeek news broke.
So does this investment from SoftBank suggest that the long-term outlook for these AI-focused miners is still strong, even with that DeepSeek situation?
I think it sends a really strong signal. Even with those bumps in the road, major players like SoftBank, who are deeply involved in AI, still see the potential of this convergence.
Okay, that's reassuring. Even with bumps in the road, the underlying potential is still being recognized by these big players like SoftBank. But JPMorgan analysts, and they definitely know a thing or two about finance, they see this Cipher deal as a major sign of things to come, and it might be just $50 million, but it's creating a lot of buzz. What is it about Cipher's assets, particularly that Barber Lake site, that makes it so appealing to these big players like SoftBank and what they call hyperscalers?
So hyperscalers, think of those giants like Google, Amazon, Microsoft. They need massive data centers to power their cloud services, and that's where Bitcoin miners come in. See, these Bitcoin miners, especially ones like Cipher with that Barber Lake site, they've got something incredibly valuable, access to cheap, abundant power. And that's the lifeblood of these energy-hungry data centers.
Makes sense. Data centers, they're notorious energy hogs, and Bitcoin mining operations are already set up to handle those massive power demands. They're practically tailor-made for this kind of transition.
Exactly. They already have the infrastructure, the expertise in managing large-scale power consumption, and often they're located in areas with really favorable energy costs.
So it's not just about slapping some servers into an old warehouse. These Bitcoin mining facilities are strategically positioned and equipped to handle the intense demands of AI data centers. Okay, so we've established that this Cipher mining deal is a pretty big deal. It's not just about one company getting an investment. It hints at a much larger shift happening, this merging of Bitcoin mining and AI. But to really understand what this means for you and for the future of Bitcoin, we need to talk about the Stargate project expert speaker. Tell us more about this $500 billion initiative and SoftBank's other AI investments. What role does the U.S. government play in all of this?
All right, so let's dive into the Stargate project. It's his ambitious 4-year plan to create a robust AI infrastructure here in the U.S. It's actually a collaboration between SoftBank, OpenAI, Oracle, and MGX, which is an Emirati investment firm. Now, the U.S. government, they're playing what they call a supportive role, possibly providing backing and some incentives.
Interesting. So the government sees AI as being strategically important, and they're willing to get involved. That says a lot about how seriously they're taking this whole AI thing.
Yeah.
But $500 billion, that is a staggering amount of money. Where is all that money going?
Well, the initial phase involves a $100 billion rollout of AI data centers across the U.S. Wow. This is going to provide the computing power needed to develop and deploy AI applications on a massive scale.
Wow. So they're building the foundation for this nationwide AI ecosystem. That's a game changer.
Yeah.
And speaking of game changers, the article mentioned that SoftBank is reportedly in talks to invest a huge sum, somewhere between $15 and $25 billion directly into OpenAI.
That's right. OpenAI is already a powerhouse in the AI world.
Yeah.
They're responsible for these groundbreaking advancements like ChatGPT and DALL-E.
Yeah.
They're the ones who are really pushing the boundaries of what AI can do.
So we have this massive Stargate project, this significant investment in Cipher mining, and now potentially another huge investment in OpenAI. It seems like SoftBank is really positioning themselves to be a major player in this whole AI space.
Absolutely. These moves suggest that SoftBank is betting big on AI, and they're not alone. We're witnessing this global race to dominate the AI landscape, and these strategic investments are really crucial pieces of the puzzle.
This is all incredibly fascinating, but I think we need to take a breath for a second and recap what we've learned so far. We started with the seemingly simple story about Cipher mining securing an investment from SoftBank. But as we dug deeper, we uncovered this much more complex and interconnected narrative. Expert speaker, what are some of the key takeaways from our deep dive so far?
Well, first and foremost, this isn't just about one company getting funding. It's a microcosm of this larger tech evolution that's happening right now. We're seeing the convergence of powerful computing AI advancements and the search for sustainable and efficient infrastructure. And at the center of it all is this really intriguing interplay between Bitcoin mining and AI.
It really is kind of mind-boggling when you think about it, how we went from Bitcoin, this, decentralized digital currency, to this world where it's potentially powering the whole AI revolution. It's like science fiction becoming reality right in front of us.
It is, and it really shows you how interconnected our world is becoming. These technologies that seem completely separate are now starting to converge in ways that we never could have predicted.
Yeah.
But the really fascinating part here is what this all means for you and for the future of Bitcoin.
Okay.
This convergence, it's not just about the tech. It's about opportunities and challenges and a whole lot of questions.
Okay, so let's talk about those opportunities and challenges then for Bitcoin miners. This sounds like it could be a golden ticket, right? New revenue streams, more stable businesses. And for AI companies, they get access to the computing power they desperately need, maybe even at lower costs. Sounds like a win-win situation to me, but I'm guessing there are some potential downsides too, right?
Yeah, you're right. It's not all smooth sailing.
Yeah.
One major concern is the environmental impact. Data centers are already very energy intensive, and adding AI to the mix is only going to ramp that up even more.
That's a valid point. As someone involved in Bitcoin, you're already pretty familiar with the whole energy debate.
Right.
But if this trend really takes off, what kind of impact could that have on our energy grids and our efforts to, combat climate change?
It's a critical question for sure, and it's one that these companies need to address head on. They need to really demonstrate a strong commitment to sustainability, maybe by investing in renewable energy sources like solar and wind power, to show that they can power this AI revolution responsibly.
So green Bitcoin mining powered by the sun and wind fueling the AI revolution, that's a future I think we can all get behind.
Yeah,
But what about the potential for, just a few powerful companies controlling both the computing power and the AI algorithms that are shaping our world? Isn't that kind of a risk we need to think about?
absolutely. As these two industries merge, you can see a handful of companies becoming incredibly powerful, controlling the infrastructure and the intelligence behind it all. That definitely raises some concerns about competition and innovation and even data privacy.
So it's a concentration of power, literally and figuratively,
Yeah.
and it's something we need to be mindful of.
Definitely. It's crucial that we have open and fair competition in this space to make sure that innovation can thrive and no single entity gains too much control.
That's a theme we've seen play out in other areas of the tech world, right? It's a constant balancing act.
It is.
But as we delve deeper into this, AI-powered future, we can't ignore the ethical implications either. AI has the potential to do some really amazing things,
Oh, for sure.
but it also raises concerns about things like job displacement, algorithmic bias, and even the potential for misuse.
You're raising some of the most important questions facing us today. As we develop these increasingly powerful AI systems, we need to consider the potential consequences. We need to be proactive, not reactive. We need to establish ethical guidelines and promote transparency and make sure that AI ultimately benefits society as a whole.
It sounds like a really tall order,
It is.
but how do we actually ensure that AI serves humanity, and not the other way around?
That's the challenge, isn't it? And it's one that requires a collective effort from researchers and developers to policymakers and everyday citizens. We need to be having these conversations now and actively shaping the future that we want to see.
Well said. Okay, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the geopolitical implications of this whole convergence. I mean, we're in this global race to dominate AI, and that has some major implications for national security and, global power dynamics.
Absolutely. Imagine walking into that investor meeting, not just understanding the tech and the market, but also the geopolitical landscape. AI is already being used in military applications, and as the technology advances, it's only going to play an even more significant role in things like national defense and intelligence gathering.
So we're talking AI-powered drones, autonomous weapons systems, sophisticated surveillance technologies. It's a whole new world, and the rules are still being written.
Exactly. And it raises all sorts of ethical and legal questions about the future of warfare, like who's responsible when an autonomous weapon makes a life or death decision? How do we prevent these technologies from falling into the wrong hands? These are really complex issues with no easy answers.
There's a lot to consider. But beyond the military applications, how else might this AI race reshape the global landscape?
Well, AI is also a key driver of economic growth. The countries and companies that control AI are going to have a significant advantage in developing new industries, creating jobs, and shaping the global economy.
So it's not just about military power, it's about economic dominance. And that's where this convergence of Bitcoin mining and AI becomes even more intriguing.
Exactly. Bitcoin mining operations, with their access to cheap power and their expertise in managing complex computing infrastructure, they could become strategic assets in this global AI race.
So these Bitcoin mining companies aren't just providing the infrastructure for AI development, they're potentially becoming key players on the global stage.
You got it. And that's what makes this SoftBank investment in Cipher Mining so significant. It's not just about financial returns. It's about strategic positioning in this rapidly evolving technological landscape.
We've covered a lot of ground here, from the technical nuts and bolts of this convergence to the broader implications for the environment, the economy, and even geopolitics. But let's bring it back to the individual listener. What does all of this mean for someone who's not a tech CEO or a government official? How might this convergence actually impact their lives?
That's the question we should all be asking ourselves. The key takeaway here is that AI is going to become increasingly pervasive in our lives. It's already changing the way we work, the way we consume information, the way we interact with the world around us.
So AI is already shaping our lives even if we don't realize it.
Yeah.
But what about the future? What might the world look like in 5 or 10 years as AI continues to advance?
It's a question that really sparks the imagination. On one hand, we could see some incredible breakthroughs in healthcare, education, transportation. AI could help us solve some of the world's most pressing problems. Imagine a world where diseases are eradicated, where education is personalized, and traffic jams are a thing of the past.
Yeah, it really is exciting to think about all that positive potential, especially when you see how much AI is already impacting our lives.
It is, but we also need to be realistic about this. So there are some potential downsides, things like job displacement as AI starts to automate more tasks, or algorithmic bias, where AI systems might actually perpetuate existing inequalities and even, concerns about privacy as AI gathers and analyzes more and more data about our lives.
So it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? A- AI holds all this promise, but it also presents these, significant challenges. And as someone involved in the Bitcoin world, it's really crucial to be aware of these challenges and to think critically about how this convergence might impact your work, your investments, even your everyday life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We need to approach AI with both enthusiasm and caution, promote responsible development, and make sure that it benefits humanity as a whole.
Well said. Okay, so as we wrap up our deep dive today, I want to circle back to where we started. Remember, you're about to walk into that meeting with a potential investor, someone
Right.
who's all in on AI. You've got your Bitcoin expertise, but now you also have this deeper understanding of this convergence, the opportunities, the risks, and what it could mean for the future.
Yeah. And it's not just about understanding the technology, it's about recognizing the larger forces at play, the economic shifts, the geopolitical maneuvering, the ethical considerations. And, it's about positioning yourself to navigate this new landscape.
Exactly. This deep dive has given you the knowledge and insights you need to not just participate in this AI-powered future, but to actually shape it.
Mhm.
Imagine walking into that meeting, not just talking about Bitcoin, but demonstrating that you have a grasp of how it all fits into this broader technological landscape. I mean, that's a game changer.
It is, and it really highlights why this convergence is so significant. It's not just about two industries colliding. It's about this fundamental shift in how we think about computing and intelligence and the future of our world.
If this is where we are now with Bitcoin mining and AI just starting to intertwine, what might this intersection look like in 5 years, 10 years? What unforeseen opportunities and challenges might this convergence create? I have to admit, even I'm a bit awestruck by how deep this rabbit hole goes.
Yeah.
It's a question that keeps me up at night in a good way. It's a future full of immense promise and potential peril, and it's a future that we're all shaping together.
So to our listener, we leave you with this final thought as you continue to navigate the world of Bitcoin. Keep this convergence in mind, stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged. The future is being built right now, and it's up to all of us to make sure it's a future we can all be proud of. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.